Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to this crash course on security. My name is Miika Heini and I'm working as a head of security services here in Solita. This morning we have tens of people joining us here in the auditorium, and then we have a lot of people joining us online from different industries and from different countries across the Nordics. Happy to see so many of you here, as we have very interesting content to deliver for you this morning, as we are going to share our real-life experiences and insights on the big buzzwords in the field of IT at the moment. I have my colleagues here to deliver the content. First of all, Jyrki Eerola will be giving his thoughts on the practical implications of the coming NIS2 directive. Then we'll have Massimo Princip and Petrus Lehtimäki sharing their experiences on how to utilize the platform engineering and DevSecOps approaches to reach real-life compliance. And then we have Sami Köykkä here giving insights on how to experiment with generative AI, utilizing the platform engineering and DevSecOps practices effectively. Unfortunately, we had a last-minute person change. We had Satu Korhonen initially in the speakers list, but Satu got sick, but we got Sami here to cover that part. From the practicalities point of view, we will be having a questions and answers session in the end. And during the presentations, you can post your questions online, and we'll be answering them at the end. And also here in the auditorium, we'll be circulating a microphone during the Q&A part. So please wait until the end if you have questions here in the room. Good. As this is a crash course, I will not be giving a long company presentation about Solita, but for those who might not yet be so familiar with us, basically our purpose is to create impact that lasts. And basically we do that by combining technology with human insight. We are currently a team of over 2,000 experts in 8 countries, and we work in the fields of software development, strategy and design, data, cloud and connectivity. And basically Solita is and has been a growth company its whole history, and we've been growing approximately 20% a year, and last year we reached over 200 million euros in revenues. And basically, so why we are talking about these topics today? Of course, security as such has been a hot topic for a couple of years already. Different type of security incidents and data breaches are in the news all the time. Most recent, rather big one happening here in the Nordics just this week. And we've always seen that the problem most probably isn't the compliance, but it is the how things work in real life, and that's what we are going through today. And as Solita has its roots deep in the software development, we've seen the evolution of technologies and the evolution of working models and what impact those have to the people. So basically, Solita started its journey on '96. From a small group of developers, and since that we've seen the emerge of agile ways of working in the early 2000s, which basically changed the ways how the project teams work. Then around 2008, DevOps emerged to combine and bridge the gaps between the developers and the operations. Then starting from 2010, around that time, the disruption of public cloud technology started, and basically it has changed how the infrastructure is consumed. It has increased the velocity of the teams and the ability to launch new services more quickly. And then most recent ones, machine learning, generative AI, large language models, basically those technologies, they have brought the countless new possibilities to use large data masses quickly and experiment with them. So basically, as Solita and its people have lived through this interesting time from disruption to another. We've been working with mission critical infrastructure and digital services from the design all the way to operations. We have adopted these cultural and technological changes in our ways of working, and that's why we are basically sharing our experiences and insights, how to go from these big buzzwords in the market to the real life compliance. And to get started with the actual content, without further ado, I will give the floor to Jyrki, and Jyrki will be discussing the practical implications of the coming NIS2.
Thank you. And good morning from me to everyone present and online. My name is indeed Jyrki Eerola, and I'm here to talk about NIS2. I work as a security consultant and mainly in the information security management and compliance is what I do daily, compliance with different standards and guidelines, and also laws and legislation. And for those who are already maybe familiar with NIS2, there's of course the funny idea that how much practical implications there can yet be, because it's still more or less in the future. There's still almost a year before the actual NIS2 has to be applied as national law in European Union member states. But I'm here to share some thoughts that we have so far figured, and also to share our experience related to information security management systems, which work from my point of view, or how we see it, it works along with NIS2. For those of you who might not be so familiar what NIS2 is, it is an upcoming or actually already applied European Union directive for cybersecurity. The NIS stands for Network and Information Security, and it's part 2 because it is an update to the original NIS1 from 2016. Like I said, the NIS2 deadline for it to be applied as an national law in the member states is in October this year, and companies and organizations still have time to make sure that they are compliant with all the requirements. Compared to the original NIS1, NIS2 presents more sectors covered within the directive. As you can see here, those in the darker shade of blue are or were already in the original NIS, and now those in the lighter shade of blue are new sectors covered in NIS2. They've been divided into important and essential entities, and the difference is, of course, is how crucial they are for the society to keep on running, but also from the sanctions point of view, the essential organizations can face more severe sanctions than the important entities. Another difference to the original NIS1 is that the NIS2 has more stricter and more maybe definite requirements than the original had, and also the sanctions in general are heavier than in the NIS1, and there's sort of the monitoring and reporting obligations are a new thing. The 4 key aspects in the NIS2 are corporate accountability. That means that from now on, the top management can no longer throw the IT team under the bus in case of an incident. If there is a gross negligence of the requirements and it can be proved, then the top management of an organization can be held accountable for that, even with criminal sanctions. Another point of view, maybe familiar from the GDPR, is reporting obligations. Like in GDPR, if there is a security incident, it must be reported within a given time to the authorities. Then there's the risk management, and I often think that many of our customers think risk management mostly about an Excel exercise, where it's more about identifying and assessing the risk, but they forgot that part of the risk management is also the actual controlling of the risks to reduce them to the sort of acceptable level of risks. So there's the identification, assessment, and control of risks. And maybe the biggest thing in NIS2, or the aim, is the business continuity. So the whole idea of this directive is to make the European Union and European society more resilient to cyber attacks, to make sure that even in cases of cyber attacks, our companies can keep on going and working, and there will be as little as possible harm to our daily lives. Here's a brief introduction on a high level on the requirements that the NIS2 presents. There are risk assessments and security policies for information systems, cryptography and encryption, security of information system from the beginning of acquisition, development, and the maintenance parts. Information security in HR, access control, asset management of the organization, the use of secure authentication methods, multi-factor authentication is raised as a single point, which hasn't been, for example, in many of the standards before, but now the legislation brings that up. Then there's the evaluation, that how well all these controls are working. Incident management, a big part of the requirements. Then there is basic cybersecurity hygiene practices, the use of passwords, not sharing them, clear desk, clear screen, and so on. Of course, the security awareness, for example, against phishing attacks, that employees know not to open suspicious files and so on. Business continuity, it includes not just planning, but in fact that there must be backups, there must be recovery plans, and that all must be practiced. There must be crisis management, communications, and so on. And finally, one big part is the supply chain security, because everything in today's world is linked somehow to something else, and even if you or your organization is doing things right, you must also make sure that the company you're buying something is also taking care of their security. I'll share some insights, not from application of the directive, because there is none yet, but like I said in the beginning, this is very much related to the information security management, which has been around for quite some time. I think, like GDPR was some years ago, NIS2 is also, it's still a bit vague. There's no justice cases, there's no application. It can feel pretty overwhelming. What does this all mean? Well, the way I see it, the only new things in this is the, of course, the stricter regulation itself, and the monitoring and reporting obligations, and maybe some new sectors to be covered. And that's, of course, very important. But the requirements, the safety controls, none of that is anything new. That has all been in the industry for a long time. There's a lot of best practices, there's benchmarking data, there is standards and so on to be used as the base to face these and solve these requirements. These are the ideas that we have when working with our customers that we have noted. And this is, I know there are different solutions for security consulting, for example. My point of view is especially when talking about information security management systems. And that, I think, is the core to have if you want to be compliant with NIS2. Remember the word monster, information security management system. It doesn't mean simply controls, it means the whole systems to run and upkeep those controls. And these are the insights that so far we have figured that are very important if you want to be compliant. First of all, like the regulations or the regulation demands is the corporate accountability. If you want to have corporate accountability and if you want to have a working information security management, you must have the top management involved, and it must be committed to upkeep and maintain the security management system. And I think it is very important not to have just or when talking to your top management or your board and so on, don't just bring your threats and risks and that point of view, but also mention all the possibilities, whether it's to be compliant, to be a proven good company and business partners because you are compliant with the regulation and for example, ISO 27001 or whatever is that you want to have. But keep sort of a positive mind because no one wants to hear just the threats. Don't reinvent the wheel and don't walk in the dark, so to speak. For example, of course, my favorite is 27001 and the whole series of standards, but there are a number of other standards which are as good and or even might be better. But the point is that don't try to think all of this yourself, but use the best practices that there are. Then another point of view that we think, especially from the information security management point of view, is that you can't buy it from the shelf as a ready product. Consultants are, in this case, very good for helping, steering, even challenging your current state and your ideas, but you can't have a consultant do all the work because once the consultant at the project is done and he leaves, then you don't have a working information security management system. You must have some competence or own specialist to upkeep and continuously improve the system. And finally, we have often faced that the customer thinks that they are they have big issues, they have nothing, they have to start from the scratch, but very often that is not the case. They actually have very good processes, they have done multiple of things, but they don't have the comprehensive look on the situation, and they don't know what all do they already have. So we'd like to point out that describe, document, and formalize what you have. Start from mapping your processes and ways of working, then maybe check if they are good, need improvement, describe and document them, and make sure that they are consistent and formal. Finally, I'd like to return to the requirements. Like I said, these are nothing new. They've been around for a very long time. These can, and we have often customers might ask that, do the policies for us, write a supply chain management policy and so on. And that is something we can do and we can help, but I think even more important to keep the information security management system running is to bring in tools and ways of working to make sure that all these requirements go not from just the policies but into the actual daily life. We gathered already for you to think during the rest of the presentations maybe how these all are linked to each other. For example, DevSecOps and platform engineering are, well, how do you want to see it? Is it a tool, a way of working, philosophy, whatever, but these are the actual solutions on how to make sure that you are compliant and your teams, your development teams, your projects and so on will be compliant with all the requirements. And finally, there is the hype word of generative AI. These are GenAI may not be a solution for these, but it as you bring it as a tool for yourself or use it, think also the security behind the GenAI, and we pointed out that, for example, security of development and operation of system is crucial for the security of GenAI, and of course the training that those who develop and use new tools, that they have the basic cybersecurity awareness. And of course, one of the most important thing is the security of supply chains. Make sure that you are aware of what's under the hood, so to speak, when using generative AI, of course, as far as possible. Thank you. This is all I have for now. I'm happy to answer the questions later on, and please let Petrus and Massimo continue here from their topic.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Petrus Lehtimäki. I'm this kind of all-round cloud architect at Solid, and I will be here with security and developer guru Massimo Principe, and we'll talk about some insights on platform engineering and DevSecOps, and how these relate to NIS2 and how you can utilize these in your daily life. And we hopefully get to also open the buzzwords a bit, so give you something concrete and tangible and understandable. So starting from the buzzwords, what is platform engineering? What is DevSecOps? As the hottest stuff right now is the GenAI we asked from the Skynet, and it gave these kind of answers. So platform engineering, it's something scalable, automated, repeatable. So it might be modules, templates, cloud landing zones, centralized services that you can repeat throughout your organization and your various projects. And we highlighted the word application, so it might be software development, data project, GenAI project. You are doing the platform engineering for those, not for the sake of platform engineering itself. How about DevSecOps? Well, simply put, it's integrating the sec between the dev and ops. So you have this DevOps workflows, you have pipelines, automation, version control, everything as a code, gates, approvals, things like that. You integrate the security and compliance as part of that workflow. And the keyword here is continuous. So it's not just something periodic. You do it every day continuously, as automated as possible. And some insights, so how these relate to each other. So when your projects are progressed using the DevSecOps methods and culture, you can use the platform engineering to give something ready to those projects. So stop reinventing the wheel, instead repeat the wisdom you have already gathered. Also, you can connect that DevSecOps back to the actual platform engineering. So think of platform engineering as a development or software development project or process itself. So apply the same culture, same practices, automation tools into the platforms as well. And this kind of one of the key requirements is that when you're talking about infrastructure, if you want to do it in a DevSecOps way, you have to do everything with code. So infra as code is a key word here. Okay. Then some distinctions between the old and new and the best, or something like that. So in the traditional old ITIL, ITSM service management world, kind of platform and security is someone else's problem. It's some other team or party. Then you have this ticket machine from hell and you open a ticket and hope for the best. usually you don't have any kind of visibility what's going on, and it's kind of black box and usually quite slow. Well, 10 people came up with the DevOps. Okay, now we have the total control inside our team, inside our project. We can do everything. Yes, we get the speed, but now everyone is responsible for everything, so no one is responsible for example, for security, as Massimo will tell us a bit in few moments. So platform engineering kind of gives this golden balance between this Wild West with speed and this controlled IT landscape where nothing happens. So you can build these reusable building blocks and give some kind of baseline to security and compliance, but still empower the actual teams and projects. And also the keyword here is the ownership. So now we have ownership for things. And how about these two? How you could utilize these, or how these relate to areas that were described earlier? Well, kind of common things that you solve with platform engineering are things like access control, whether it's identity related or network related. You solve things like protecting your data, business continuity, backups, disaster recovery, high availability. Then also encryption in rest and in transit, managing your secrets, things like that. And also you can tackle the technical controls requirements in ISO 27000 with platform engineering. And so building a baseline or a landing zone where these these boxes are already ticked, dependent on the project that you're making.
Thank you. So Petrus there gave a very good description about platform engineering and DevOps as well. But why then should we use DevSecOps, or what is the actual problem with DevOps? Well, it's in the name, since it's collaboration between developers and operations, where the security team in the organization is left out. This means that they have little or no visibility to the security posture of an actual software development project. As seen here in the DevOps cycle visualization, they have no part in it. And the only way for them to get the visibility is to conduct a penetration test or a security audit, which are usually conducted right before going into production in the old tradition. And stuff that gets noticed just before going into production is very hard to fix, it's expensive to fix, it causes delays, results in quick and dirty fixes, which have no guarantee that the same type of vulnerabilities won't appear again.
Okay, then some real life insights from the projects. Most of you might be familiar with the Agile Manifesto. It's kind of this and this over that and that type of principles or sayings. So we took that approach and apply it to the platform engineering as well. And many of us have been in a project where you start building stuff and try to provide that value that we are looking for, but it's hard and it's slow since everything is restricted. You cannot do anything, and even the things that are sensible might be restricted and controlled. So kind of the first insight here is visibility. Give the project and teams visibility. Do not try to control and restrict everything. Give them guidelines, give them practices. Enable and empower the teams with something that is pre-packaged, pre-thought, ready solutions, ready modules, instead of just trying to involve yourself in everything. Also, autonomy, enablement over this kind of, you have to take your hat off and come to and pray for things you need to progress in your project. And I think that maybe the most important is the last one. So we have this tendency that we build these academic perfections into documents and then they collect dust in the shelves. So aim for the real life compliance and real life security instead. Choose your battles and focus on those. Technology enables lots of stuff. You have thousands of different configurations you can tweak, but choose your battles and focus on those. And as in the Agile Manifesto, we are not saying that the things on the right side are not valuable. We just see that you should start from you should change your mindset to the things on the left side. Yeah, then some real life examples here. So communicate, make things visible. So if Massimo here is doing something that is not compliant with your principles, let Massimo see that instead of just restricting everything automatically without him even knowing that he's doing something wrong. Well, we have been mentioning the reinventing the wheel many times here, but yeah, even though we have this idea that developers want to tweak everything and want to come up with everything from the scratch, we see that they actually value ready thought solutions and ready that are secure and compliant enough from the start. And yeah, if you make the teams and projects and people empowered, it creates commitment, they feel committed, and that lessens also the risk of cutting corners, because people start to cut corners when they feel that things are slow and they don't have control over anything. And as said before, choose your battles, focus on those battles. Do not try to achieve perfection. And you don't have to use every tool that the platform provides you.
Thank you. So let's talk a bit about responsibility. This is a phrase that I guarantee that most of you have heard at least once. In our team, security is everyone's responsibility. This phrase is usually uttered by people in a position of responsibility, and unfortunately, they are usually unable to grasp the irony of that sentence, since what it actually means is that it's no one's responsibility. There is no one person in a project that would have the responsibility of encouraging and enforcing security conventions and best practices. And the poor, overworked cybersecurity team with no visibility, being very worried, doesn't scale across many project teams. And communication channels, if there was a project that would have existing good practices, they can't be shared across teams because communication channels simply don't exist. One possible antidote for this is security champions. A security champion is a single person that has allocated time, typically 20% or more or less, for improving security in their project. That might not seem like much, but I'll get back to that later. They don't need to be a hacker. I love the following, which is a quote from Vera Code. They need to act as the security conscience of the team. This means that there's that feeling that we all get that something is not quite right. But security champions need to act on that feeling and point out security issues. And they also need to ensure that colleagues in their team adhere to those security conventions. They also can spread information with other security champions and with the cybersecurity team, which then advances visibility and also uniformity between projects. And security champion isn't a concept that was invented by Solita. Instead, it's a fairly thorough implementation guideline built by OWASP, the foundation. It's used and battle tested in many large organizations such as AWS. Go ahead, Petrus.
Then some insights from the kind of achieving more real-time visibility to your security in your project and having this frequent feedback loop. So yeah, this is also a term that can be heard in many projects. That yes, of course, our project and our application is tested for security. Of course it is. Probably just before going into production, or maybe even after going into production, by some kind of one-off audit. So there has not been constant, continuous feedback on the security. So it's more like a black box to even the people working in the project, but also to the key stakeholders. And then after this one-off heavy audit, you have this list of findings, and then you start fixing things. It will be quick and dirty. It will impact your business value. You will do some damage, and you don't have any time to do any like thorough regression testing. So we feel that having this visibility and feedback as continuous is the way to tackle this. So yeah, instead of these one-off periodic exercises, do it frequently, do it continuously, do it quickly. And just an example, if you have this, you're using agile methods and you have sprints and you have the ceremonies and you have reviews and retros, include the security posture into that. And so for every 2 weeks, you can see, okay, we've been doing these changes. How did our security posture go? Embrace automation. So you have all the automated pipelines, use those. So if you deploy often and you include security into the workflow, you will also get almost real-time insights from the security side, and also what you need to fix. And use tools. People are the key, but of course tools and technology help in this as well. So scan your application code, but include your infrastructure there as well. So if you're doing everything with infra as code, scan that as well for possible leaks and bad secret management or any vulnerabilities. And yeah, the people that are working with platforms or developing the platforms, whether it's the infra people in your project or the platform engineers doing this repeatable stuff, those who are closest to the platforms, those should be responsible for the security in daily life, not just some security people from the ivory tower without the visibility, as we said earlier. And yeah, we feel that when you have this understanding of security, whether as a domain or a posture of your project early enough, it will result in better things in future, definitely. Yes.
Thanks. We found that DevSecOps builds on top of these 3 principles: shifting left, collaboration, and awareness. Shifting left, it's a fairly common term now, but it means that you should catch all nasty things such as vulnerabilities, bad design choices, and errors as early as possible. Collaboration means building a security culture that starts from people, that is not just something forced from top down. And awareness means knowing the security controls in place and how they affect the resulting security posture. Related to NIS2, risk analysis can be considered shift left type of control, so it can be complemented with threat modeling. Supply chain security is very well tackled with SBOM, which stands for Software Bill of Materials, and dependency vulnerability management. Cybersecurity training, so just not using security champions, but actually doing training and encouraging activities that kind of demystify security, so it's just like not a mystical hacker thing, but people can get into it with simple exercises such as capture the flag or secure coding and so on. And vulnerability handling can be supported by automation and some processes as well. Here's a customer case. Our customer FinTraffic Rail. They deal with a lot of critical stuff. Critical stuff as in trains won't run in Finland if their stuff stops working. Critical stuff. So I would say that's pretty critical. They wrestled with a lot of the points mentioned before, and they decided to go on a DevSec transformation journey with us. We started with a maturity assessment, which is a typical way of discovering what existing security practices they have, what is the base that we should build this DevSecOps practices on, and possible improvements, the biggest pain points, and so on. Then we help them build a clear security roadmap. Instead of just doing one-off project-specific improvements, we build a clear security roadmap for a long timeline for improving software security. We helped nominate security champions from every project, so there is at least one person in every project that is actually responsible for advancing security. And secured ways of working and security tooling, automation, threat modeling, and so on were applied consistently to every project. And finally, using the data produced by those automation tools, we help them build a security KPI dashboard, which provides a type of single glance view for the security team to see the security posture of their software development projects. But it can also be used by, for example, product owners to see how the last sprint went in terms of cybersecurity. So if they just went full on pushing out new features with no regards to like pulling new questionable dependencies in, how that went. And vice versa, if they focused on maybe regaining some of that security technical depth, they could see numbers improve. And as a side note, this also provides the developers some nice positive pressure and maybe even a gamified experience of like improving those numbers. How would one get into DevSecOps? There's something where we call a DevSecOps transformation. And it starts, like in the customer case, with a maturity assessment. So we need to find out the base we're building on. So we need to find out things such as, is there existing support for automation? Are there some policies or requirements that we need to be dealing with? Are there existing projects that have some good practices that can be generalized for other projects? And what are the major pain points? Next, we should set goals and approach particularly those pain points and conformity or standards compliance but we should do it iteratively, not all at once. And when we start to get building the base, this is where I return to the allocated time. Here it's critical to get that management buy-in, to get allocated time for those security champions. This might be a big thing, actually, since it's a business decision. Security seldom provides actual value, so it can be quite a difficult decision. But in practice, those people without the actual promise to allocate time for cybersecurity, they will get swamped by their normal day-to-day work. Besides building that security champion program, they also need to select the proper tools. Security isn't built on a vacuum. It's not just about tools, it's about people. But you need, of course, the proper tools. But the adoption of those tools should be made as frictionless as possible. Developers shouldn't feel slowed down or bogged down by the security tools, but they should feel, I like to use that term coined by Petrus, empowered, that they can learn new things about their project, new things about their code, and find out some insights, things that may have actually shocked them, that they have done some sort of development that has been actually insecure for maybe many years. And again, iteratively, one does not need to go full on with every project, but one can select a few pilot projects to test these conventions on. The final step here is measurement. So leveraging that data produced by those automation tools, putting it into use, creating KPIs such as amount of vulnerable dependencies, amount of code vulnerabilities, etc. And then adjusting and reassessing those KPIs, those controls that affect them. And when everything is in place, then deploying DevSecOps to all projects in your organization. This was my last slide. Thanks a lot. And the next one, there's a final point, people over tools and investment. So if you want to take one takeaway, that's a very nice phrase. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Sami Kökkä and I am here to talk to you about how generative AI is related to all of this. So, as you may have heard, there's this thing called generative AI which is changing the world. And of course, first question is that, is everything we have learned here, is it going to become obsolete after AI is going to do everything for us? Spoiler, it isn't. And we are talking about this here. As you all know, generative AI, it's like the newest generation of machine learning. It's about generating new things, which is also in its name. GenAI creates new things based on things it has been learning all over the internet. For example, all over the source material it is collecting, has been collecting from various sources. The training material, it have to be internet. It can be also different kinds of things like behaviors, image materials, movies, people, whatever. Content that generative AI is generating, it also can be many various things. It can be text. That is perhaps something you are most familiar with when you are chatting with ChatGPT. Or you may have been creating images with AI tools. You may have seen some movies or moving image created by the AI. But it's not everything. It can create many kinds of types of things. Voices, even some cars are nowadays using AI type of solutions to like bring guidance on how to drive the car, when to turn on windshield wipers, when to turn on lights, and so on. So there are many different opportunities for these ones. And of course, nowadays, you can constantly hear how GenAI is being included to many different tools, many different approaches, even to security, as we are talking now today. This also means that we are going to have many new kinds of security incidents, many new kinds of issues, something that we might haven't been realizing or might haven't been thinking before. They are not perfect. Instead, we are getting new kinds of stuff that we have to get ready for. There can be technical problems. I guess many of you have heard about hallucination. Hallucination means that when generative AI system is behaving like a small child, it's telling you things which it has been inventing and is insisting that they are true. So hallucination means that actually GenAI systems, they don't have knowledge as such. They have been learning about patterns, how different kinds of text are related to each other, how they are presented in the internet. And if you are combining them wrong, it might be that there comes false facts. But because GenAI, it doesn't have any intelligence, it doesn't know right from wrong, it can provide the information to you as the truth. There can be other kinds of problems. As I said, all GenAI systems are trained on the data that has been collected from many kinds of places. It might even contain some copyrighted data, something that shouldn't be in there. And in bad cases, as we can see here, it can also leak them out. Many people are worried about, for example, bringing trade secrets, company secrets, and so on, to the AI systems. For example, here in Solida, of course, we have a rule. No customer data is going to go near GenAI systems unless it is agreed with the customer, which is, of course, healthy approach, because we never know. It might be contained in the training material for the future AI, and with some bad luck, somebody could see some secrets coming out from the systems. Of course, the probability for that is quite low, but there's also always the probability for that. There are possibilities of misusing interaction data, because GenAI systems are, of course, they are integrated to other systems. Somebody can go through in the middle of the interaction with GenAI systems and use that information wrong or do some bad things about it. Then there are more complex issues, which are not entirely technical. There might be that the GenAI is biased somehow. It has some kind of attitudes. For example, AI can become racist because of the source material it has seen. Suddenly, it's like, again, it's not intelligent. It's not finding wrong or right. It's just producing things. And if the source material has been containing some things that can be considered biased, it can be also in the GenAI output. There can be many unpredictable things. Some of the latest ones we have been hearing about, for example, has been the so-called December laziness. I don't know if any of you have heard about that. But the ChatGPT, which many of us are now using with their work, suddenly in December, many people all around the world suddenly realized that ChatGPT has become lazy. Instead of like eagerly giving you, when you're asking me that, give me a piece of code which is doing this and that, ChatGPT is telling me that, okay, I can tell you about how to produce such a code and you can do it yourself. Or you can find about it on the internet. And people have been wondering, what's going on? What is this? Why is it like behaving this way? Why is it lazy? OpenAI is saying that we haven't changed anything. It's the same model as before. So there are no facts. We don't know what has been happening, or we don't know if it's a real thing. But there are theories that the source material on the internet tells that on December, people are usually waiting for Christmas. And usually when asked to do something, people are answering that, okay, can it wait? Wait till January next year and do it then, not on the holiday season. And there has been the hidden bias for information. You don't do hard things on December. And now when December came, the ChatGPT started to become lazy. So this is we are going on the deeper levels here. It's approaching psychology instead of technology. And that's one of the difficult things with AI systems. They bring new kinds of problems for us. And for this, bad actors can use this. There have been some designs on, for example, about theories of can you embed some kind of hidden time bombs or hidden bad things to the AI system by poisoning the source data and hiding it in some way that you cannot find it. So that, for example, the crude example would be that if the year is 2024, behave normally. If the year is 2025, start giving out bad instructions. Nobody is able to test that. Because if the AI is knowledgeable that, okay, now I'm behaving normally, but suddenly next year I'm starting to behave in a bad way. There have been studies that are you able to test foundation models in some way that you can find out hidden biases, hidden traps or anything inside there, but it's very, very difficult. It's not something that can easily be done. And of course, poisonous training data. Now, everyone is knowing about training data, and currently we are using GPT-4 and models like that. They have been trained 1 year ago about. Now we are training further models. I guess training of GPT 4.5 or even GPT-5 is happening all the time. And I guess some bad actors are either thinking about or already doing it. Can we inject some data on the internet that is poisoning the future models? We don't know about that. And it might be that they are not suddenly aware. We are not able to pinpoint that this is bad data, but the combination of those, they can be unpredictable results. So it's a little bit like raising a child. What you are doing with your child, all the small things, create some kind of adult. And you might not know what kind of adult this is. Will it become a good adult? Will it become a bad adult? We don't know. Will it start hating you? I don't know. And that, all of you who are parents know what I'm talking about. And it's now the same issues are coming to GenAI. And that is something that is creating new kinds of issues and things. So what are GenAI systems like technically? We have the foundation model, which is the huge model, several gigabytes, several dozens of gigabytes big, which is collecting the neural network, which is built from the things that have been collected all over the world. Then we have fine-tuning models. Fine-tuning means that when we are getting answers from the big foundation model, which everyone in the world is using, we are getting basically the similar training results. But if we want to add something local, something which is our own, which is not inside the model, then we add to it. We are using RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, which means that when we are asking something from the GenAI, we are adding some reference information so that I'm asking you something and I'm giving you some background information from our own systems. And the background information is something that is produced locally. So for example, everyone is wanting now things that based on our company documents, can you answer me some questions? The company documents are on the internal server, and when I'm making the query, then I'm first preparing the background information, the instant teaching material for the AI, and then I'm giving it together with my questions to the big model, and it's producing me the result. This is fine-tuning, and this is RAG. And then after that, of course, We have like more traditional ways. We have data verification, collection, configuration, integration, APIs, and whatever. And then we are starting to get our own systems, which we are integrating to, and information is going forward. Many times, the simplest solution is that we are thinking GenAI as a black box, so that we are building some kind of prompt, like the well-formed question, and then we are giving it to the AI, and magic comes back, and then we are doing something with the magic. But we are going further from that. Nowadays, the systems we are using, they might contain multiple different models, so that there are different models doing different kinds of things, and there might be some models which are doing orchestrating. So they are kind of like project leaders and programmers and designers. All different AIs are doing things, and then we are combining the results and doing something with those. Models can be local as well. We don't have to use the big models from the OpenAI or Microsoft or things like that. Nowadays, you are able to also run models locally. They are not that clever, they are not that good, but they are pretty good. And they can be, for example, my laptop computer is able to run local models, which are as good as the actual top of the state-of-the-art models from a year or two ago. And of course, models, computing, everything is getting better. So soon we are able to run locally something that now requires the big internet infrastructure. And then we can do combination of local models. Then we can do the combination of big models from the internet, combine things, and so on. Another big thing is, of course, fine-tuning, giving out the background information. But even further, and I predict in the upcoming months you will be hearing more about this, is the function support. So that the models, instead of just producing to you an answer, you can tell them that these are the things you can do. And we are presenting them that you can use these functions. Let's say you are building a smart home, and I am building a device which is like, I can speak to it and tell it to do different things. And then I'm telling them that, okay, I have lights, I have these switches, and these are the functions you can use to, for example, adjust temperature, put lights on, and so on. And then I'm saying like, oh man, it's hot in here. So the model understands that, okay, this guy wants to have like a colder climate, and it knows that it has access to function which is adjusting temperature. So it can make me a local request. Can I change the temperature? It's adjusting it down, and then it's giving me the answer. Okay, I set the temperature on the better levels now. Is it good now? I have already made such an example POC of this kind. And it's like the function support. It's changing things. So instead of just one integration where you are talking to AI, you also have a function integration. The models are also having local interactions. For example, GPT nowadays is able to surf the internet. So I can ask it, like, what are the Oscar nominees for this year? The information it's not in the model, but it can find out for me. So it is able to browse the web, find out the information, and use it itself. It's like fine-tuning, but it's happening on the server. So there are many different combinations. This is expanding all the time. New concepts are coming in, but they are like, in this picture, we have two worlds. The blue one is the cloud world, it's the AI world. And the red one, it's the local world, like where the functions and programming and things like that happen. So, what do you need for the AI security is the next thing. Okay, as I said before, spoiler, we still need the security. You cannot outsource AI security to a single AI guy, which is doing everything. Instead, you are having a team. And the most important thing at this point, you have to increase awareness of the whole team to the ML and AI. They need to understand what's going on. What are the basic principles? What are the things you have to keep in mind when doing the AI? And you have to understand the new kind of stuff that's happening. They are not yet, at least I'm not aware of, like SecAI ops or anything like that. I'm sure they are coming, and we are getting more rules, but the world is changing so fast. So currently, my advice to everyone is that keep learning, keep trying out things, keep like investigating, and be aware of world changing around you. Another thing is that people who are working with AI, they might be that they are not that familiar with traditional developer security conventions. So that's why, of course, we need DevSecOps, and we need the traditional security, and we need to get that AI guy on the bandwagon with the traditional security also as well. They are, as said, this is the fast developing technology. Things are changing. Every week we hear something new and exciting happening. And of course, at least I am excited to learn about new things. I guess you are as well. But what we have heard today, those basic rules, those basic principles, those apply to AI project as well. Keep that in mind. Yeah. So how to bring the security to AI? Safeguarding the GenAI part. The instructions so far. Everything I heard so far has not become obsolete. Remember the good developer practices, document, validate, test, but also think about new ways to do things. For example, how do you document working with AI? If you are speaking to it, you are like, you are a little bit like a psychologist talking to human and like investigating its thinking and coming up new things. How do you document that? Well, you have to save your discussions, save what you are talking with AI, and so on. Bring all of those things in mind. Think about new ways. Save inputs and outputs, of course. Also do validation and testing, but you have to be aware of also that AI is not predictable, so you might have different results every time you are doing things, depending on the time of the year or the mood or whatever. And that's also something that is bringing new issues. But documenting, trying out, preparing for problems, that's one thing. And of course, being mindful about the things we were speaking today, like having the bias, having the over-reliance. You have to keep in mind that you cannot trust AI. It's not intelligent. It's a machine after all, but it's like behaving like a small child. And then think about the life cycle. Think about the future. Future is also kind of like problematic thing, because if you are building something about current foundation models, what happens when they are being trained, they are learning new things, they are developing, they are maturing, maybe new models are coming out. You suddenly might find out that your previous things don't work after all. Prepare for that as well. I have no like particular instructions like do this or that, but instead like the main message, be aware and be curious. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Good. So, thank you for all our speakers, Jyrki, Massimo, Petrus, and Sami. And just to conclude with few points from these presentations that we received this morning. So first of all, like we talked and was presented there, compliance, of course, it's important to have, but it shouldn't be the necessity. So basically, aim for the compliance, by adopting the secure ways of working, like in the DevSecOps and the platform engineering part. Use the continuous ways of doing threat modeling. Utilize the good practices in setting the roles, like the security champion model that we are heavily recommending. And that is something that will help you to create also secure solutions, but also gaining the compliance. Then, of course, technology is important, and it provides the means to empower people and scale the things that you are doing. Use it effectively, provide those reusable components with the platform engineering approach, provide the supporting tools for continuous security verification, and think about the data that you get from the platforms, from those tools. Use it wisely to create visibility across the different stakeholders. And then as the third point, all these things that we discussed, it might be exhausting. So you have mixed teams, you have multiple teams, you even might be acting in a multi-vendor environment. You don't need to do all this by yourself. You don't need to do all this at once. Like Massimo said, start from somewhere and then build on top of that. There are partners that can help you in that. And as this was a crash course, this is the only sales slide that we are going to present here today. And in the beginning, I said that Solita is a company that we want to create impact, and that is why we are here. And basically, like I said, the aiming for compliance just for regulatory reasons, that is not enough. We have a solid understanding on planning, developing, running the digital services. We are working with mission critical services and infrastructure on a daily basis. And basically it's our job to help you to reach your goals. And basically our approach that you saw today incorporates the security in the development process all the way from the start, from the design all the way through development to the production and the maintenance part. Like I said, technology, that's pretty much not the hardest part, and then too often we've seen that the technology is the only focus in when developing things and improving the security. Basically, our approach is holistic, and it basically starts from the people understanding the guidelines and the policies in place, the people having the sufficient working models and modern tools to support their daily work. And basically, like we said, we start from what you already have and build on top of that, help you to get the best out of it. And as a third point, we strongly believe that people really want to do their work well. And basically that's why we are here to help. Our approach, like discussed from the multiple angles, we are here to help upscale the competencies into teams. We help to adopt the modern ways of working from the design all the way to development and production. So basically that is how we can help you to get from the buzzwords to the real life compliance. Thank you. Good. So that pretty much concludes the presentation part, and then now it's time for Q&A, and we have few here online. If I would ask my dear colleagues to join me here, let's see where we start from. And by the way, there was a question already in the beginning that will this session be shared afterwards, and is it okay to use this information and slides? So yes, we will share the recording and then the slides afterwards, so you will get the materials from this. First question from online. Is it safe to enable GenAI services in the cloud? For example, Azure Copilot. can we control or manage it somehow?
Okay, should I start? Of course, as told earlier, there's one of the risks is that the information you are showing to the AI is like leaking to the training data, which is on top of everyone's mind. Of course, if you are using Azure models, you have the privacy policies with the vendors. They are promising that your information is not being used. And if you are able to trust that kind of promise, I think it is much, much safer in that way, instead of using the all kinds of things you can find on the internet. But it's like, I think one of the big approaches is that if you can use the cloud services and you can trust your services in those, for example, Azure services, this is the part of those as well. So I would say yes.
Good. Then let's take another one from online and then see if we have any here in the room. I think this one goes to Petrus and Massimo. Any experiences from real life? Have platform engineering been a solution to increase security of the cloud where there are many autonomous development teams?
Well, we see that that is actually exactly the point. So yes, that is something you try to achieve with platform engineering. You have various mixed teams, vendors, partners, projects. You try to create something that you can share throughout those and repeat, and it's secure and compliant.
Yeah, and we can share, of course, we have a couple of public reference stories in our website and so forth, but for example, Säästöpankki, one of the Finnish banking customers of Solita, that's one good example where we are utilizing the platform engineering approach and basically to scale and to guarantee the compliance part. Good. Do we have any questions here from the live audience? There, wait for the microphone. Maija will bring you that, so then people can hear the question.
All right, very good. Tapio Huotari is my name. You mentioned that it's important that people are engaged in this security and involved in team and everything. But for that is needed proper tools. So what are the tools you wanted to see to be used?
Yeah. For the time constraints, some of that like technical implementation was omitted from the slides, but there's actually a blog post, I don't know if that was sent to everyone, which contained like a complemented version of the DevOps cycle that was complemented with those security gates in every phase, those numbered phases. So for example, starting from the design, threat modeling, after that's coding, static code analysis, starting moving forward, dependency analysis, and so on. So from my experience, I would say that the most valuable ones are those related to either self-produced code or code pulled as dependencies. Those of the latter ones being those of the most risk, since supply chain-based attacks are rising constantly. So just some tools from the top of my head. If you're using GitHub, then Dependabot is a pretty good choice.
Good. Any other questions from the audience? There is one.
Do you have experience dealing with these advanced persistent threat groups?
I guess maybe I can comment that at least we haven't been the target if you think about that, and our services hasn't not been on the list that we would have been like working on that in that sense with those groups. And I guess we are following the situation, of course. We are aware of those threats that they are in the open and constantly preparing for those in our deliveries and so forth. But we've been fortunate not to be on the list of the targets at this point. But to be honest, I think every organization should think that as it's only a matter of time before you are hit by one of those groups. I think that is honest to say. Thank you. Good. Let's see. We have a couple of questions online also. Let's take this one. Can the presented DevSecOps model be easily trained to multiple development teams?
Yeah, that is like the general idea that it should be like an organization-wide set of policies and practices and ways of working. So, at least in my opinion, the ideal implementation would be that every project would go through the same DevOps cycle with all those added security gates for catching vulnerabilities in those different phases and pulling the brake there to investigate that vulnerability before it moves on into another phase and eventually into a release phase. So the answer would be yes.
Yeah, and maybe to also a little bit elaborate on that the like the customer example that Massimo presented, there we had like unified ways of doing the threat modeling, and that is scaled between the teams. We have the tools using the platform engineering approach, basically scaled for all the development teams in that customer. So basically then it's like giving you the unified output, and you can basically then basically see like there was the KPIs and follow the security posture, so you get the data in one format. You are able to react based on that data across your teams working with the development. Good. Let's take this one from online also. What emerging trends in information security do you see shaping the landscape, and how should organizations adapt their strategies to address these evolving threats? Let's take this one so that everyone gets to say something. So let's start from Petrus.
I'm just a cloud guy. I don't know anything about security. So.
That was exactly our point.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see it is the classic that the only thing that is constant is change, and there will always be new threats and vulnerabilities. But they never come completely out of blue. So the way I see it is to have my beloved information security management system, which has a process for following threats and looking for those early signs that this might be something that is coming up, and then react in time, think about, is this something that we can solve with our current controls, because very rarely it is actually something completely new. For example, phishing attacks can, of course, always come true, and there are more better and better ways of conducting such an attack. But the very basic is to send just tons of these emails. Sometimes maybe spearheaded a little, but anyway, there comes the emails, and just wait for someone to open a link. And the answer would be simply to set controls that, for example, multi-factor authentication and maybe restriction on what can be opened, and even better that, of course, limiting what comes through at all and so on, and of course security awareness. But I don't have any clear that this is the #1 new threat, and nor do I have a solution for that. I'd like to maybe relate to that, be aware, be interested, follow what's going on, and look for early signs that what might be coming next. Maybe a bit of a politician answer, but that's the way I see it.
In my opinion, one of the biggest potential dangers is supply chain attacks, since by at least the introduction of GenAI, development speed is constantly accelerating. The push for generating code and pulling in new stuff to accelerate building of new products is constantly accelerating, and the knowledge due diligence and vetting of those libraries seems to be constantly decreasing. So that is a very attractive attack vector for attackers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as said before, GenAI brings lots of possibilities, but the bad actors are also very interested about AI and having new innovative ways, thinking of new innovative ways to fool people and do bad stuff. Lately, for example, I have had first-hand experience. I have seen first time people's voice being stolen, and people have been like tried to fool with voice messages which sound like authentic voice of the person, or friends of the person who is like whose voice has been stolen. That is one example, and of course, like the basic things you all are seeing in your inbox, the spam messages are getting much better using AI. And one of the things in Finland is that we have always been like protected by our hard language. It has been usually quite easy to see when somebody who doesn't speak Finnish properly is trying to fool us. But nowadays it's like it's becoming much like better AI-generated Finnish language. But yeah, new innovative ways are coming out. So of course, again, same politician answer: be curious and follow what's happening around.
Yeah, I can also maybe share my views on that. There were good points. Supply chains, definitely more and more ready-made code is being used, so new code is not written that much. That is one thing to prepare and protect. Then the GenAI, for example, like Sami mentioned, the phishing campaigns, all of that type of things, they seem more natural, they are automated. The bad guys are using the same tools that we are, basically. So they are able to utilize that for their benefit. And of course, then it brings those new like deep fake type of attacks. There was actually, I don't know if any one of you is reading the Traficom newsletter that is coming regarding the ongoing threats and things. It was actually our CEO whose message had been created using deepfake, and it was sent from random number to a colleague of him, and so that kind of things are there. Of course, you asked about the APT groups. That is one thing due to the geopolitical situation nowadays in Europe that creates a lot of, or has actually opened up the nation-state players are also acting more against the private side organizations and so forth. So there are a lot of those type of trends emerging and going on at the moment already. But I think how to prepare, how to address, start from the basics. There are a lot of things that can be achieved by putting the basics in order. So like we stated here, it's not rocket science to have the roles and responsibilities defined, follow what is happening, use the data that you have, implement the controls properly that you define and set. And so it's quite often, it doesn't require that €1 million box from a hardware vendor to put into your data center. It's usually you can gain more with just putting the basics in order.
One quick thing you can do instantly is a little bit funny way of protecting yourself. You could add two-factor authentication to human communication. So, for example, if you find yourself discussing with a deepfake, then agree beforehand with your family and colleagues something which is inside information or some kind of words you are using, and see how the other party is reacting to them. Of course, for example, with your spouse, it's easy. Use the names you are talking with each other only when you two are present. Those are kind of like human passwords. And of course, on the company level, in Solida, we have a secret word that everyone knows, but nobody else doesn't.
Good. I think we have now used the time we had allocated for this. We have a couple of questions here. We will see if we can get the answers done after this. But just to end, I would like to say a big thank you for all. Hopefully this was beneficial and good use of your time. We at least think so, that we had a good content to deliver you this morning. So from my behalf, thank you for joining, and have a nice day and the rest of the week.